Today on the Nerdy Gritty, we talk about the game Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom and its its place in the world of JRPGs and why we believe it's what the genre needs right now.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. I am Dez.
And I'm Fox.
Fox, I have a question for you, an important question for you.
If the moon was made of barbecue spare ribs, would I eat it?
No. I mean, yes, but no.
Heck, I'd have seconds.
Hi! If you were taken by a symbiote, what would be...
Say that? No, hold on. Say that again?
Symbiote.
Symbiote?
Symbiote.
You say it symbiote?
Symbiote.
I've always just...
I actually looked it up.
Symbiote.
Symbiote.
No,
symbiote.
Sure, whatever. It doesn't
I actually looked it up.
It sounded funny.
What it is symbiote.
Symbiote?
Which is what they said in the preview. Anyway, what would be your evil villain name? Go.
I don't know. Maybe I'd cause a lot of carnage, so I could be like Havoc.
Havoc would be a good one, though.
That's already
all
superhero.
of them. I actually looked them up ahead of time, and they're all names like that. Like
it's supposed to be a play on Carnage, who is also a symbiote.
Yeah, I know, but they're
we
all
need a Carnage movie,
like
not a Venom.
Carnage and Venom and Siren and Poison and things like that.
They sound like 90s metal bands.
Yes, they really
Venom
do.
is a metal band.
So is Poison.
One of the actual satanic metal bands that people don't understand. That metal. Anyway, yep, Poison is. Carnage is. What was that other one you said?
Well, I think I would be called Rampage, and I would
with Dwayne the Rock Johnson?
And I would specifically go and destroy buildings.
Climbing up on the side, punching the windows,
exactly,
tossing people into your mouth.
If you guys didn't know, the new Venom trailer dropped today.
It did.
The actual trailer dropped today, so you'll be hearing this a week later.
There was a short preview, one of those teaser trailers, like a couple weeks ago, and that was like, oh, okay. They didn't show Venom at all, which was kind of cool. I like that idea. But this one is a different story.
Yeah, I watched it, and here's the truth. I'm a fan of Venom, the character.
The character of Venom.
I have always liked this whole thing where here's Eddie Brock, and he is kind of like a neutral person, and
sometimes he's a jerk, but yeah.
Well, and see, he's always kind of just cared about himself and wanted more for himself, but at the same time, he's not a bad guy.
Yeah, he's never like an outright evil.
He's
character.
not. Yeah, he's not Carnage.
Yeah.
And of course Venom starts as a villain at first, and he's specifically against Spider-Man. That's all he cares to go against Spider-Man. But eventually he becomes kind of an anti-hero.
Yeah. Venom's always been cool. He was part of the Dark Avengers.
Yeah.
You remember that storyline, which is surprisingly cool.
And so one thing that I actually like about this preview that we saw that they were kind of featuring, one thing I do like about it is they seem to really be highlighting this battle between Eddie Brock and the symbiote.
And the symbiote.
Yeah, and
the duality there.
Yeah, the duality, and the amount that they call themselves we is real cool. I like that.
Right.
In the comics, Venom always referred to himself in the plural.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think that's a cool concept. But I found the trailer to be kind of laughable.
Everything else looks kind of dumb.
Everything else looks kind of dumb. Just... by the numbers.
Oh my gosh, yes.
We're an evil science lab. We have an evil thing. Oh no, good guy gets it. Oh no, he becomes like... It just looks like it's going to be so bland, really, when Venom should be anything but.
First and foremost, it doesn't look like it's going to be rated R, and a Venom movie should be rated R for violence. That's just who Venom is.
Right, and if the trailer's anything to go by... So, Venom was in Spider-Man 3.
Right.
You remember Eddie Brock was in it.
Nope.
Eric from that 70s show became Venom, and he was only like full Venomized, like with the whole like face and everything for like probably like 30 seconds to a minute, maybe if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Because actors don't like their face covered up. They want to be able to act and emote and have people see them act and have their face on screen. And so I'm really worried that that's going to happen here too. Maybe less worried, I guess. I don't know. I think, what's his name? Mad Max.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy is a much better actor. He's a great actor.
He's a very good actor, yes.
But I'm hoping that there's a solid... I want Venom out there. Like, make it a Venom movie.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
Which you can still have that duality, that's tug between the two personalities. But I put Venom in there, you know?
I mean, just things right off the bat in the preview that I was really concerned about. Number one is the amount of violence seemed really, like, dumbed down.
Yeah, it seemed very...
PG-13.
Easy. Yeah, like just simple.
Yeah, throw him out a window, slam him against the wall.
Right, I grabbed him and threw him.
Like, Venom in the comics would grab people and, like, tear them in half.
Right.
You know, things like that.
That should... this is another... Okay. I have problems with Sony as a movie... Sony Pictures. Mm-hmm. They're bad at making movies. Like, it's just... Like,
Stop it.
Shockingly bad.
Stop it.
Like, they've made all the Adam Sandler movies for the past couple of years. They made... Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, which were both not great,
right,
and closer to bad probably. They made Ghostbusters 2016. They're just not good at making movies, and so I don't have high hopes for it at all.
So yeah,
really worried, not worried because it's a movie I don't care.
With the success of Deadpool, like why would you not? And Logan.
Like,
why not just go all out and be like,
dude,
Venom is a vicious anti-hero.
And there's a demand. People want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just pointing at that. Number two, the pyrotechnics of all things look really pyrotechnic-y.
Yeah.
Like, you see, like, things blow up, and it's like blue sparks flying through the air.
I'm guessing...
Like, what?
I mean,
why?
Those can be fixed in post. Yeah, you always have to take trailers with a grain of salt. Because trailers can be changed substantially with what's actually in them and in the movie, but also even just the quality of the special effects can be much better in a movie than it can in the trailer for that movie.
But it should be the other way around. The trailer's the part that you're featuring. Like, you say you can fix that in post. Why not take the trailer and say, all right, put this through post quicker. Like, put these scenes, these segments... Hey, just doll this up so we can put it out there. You know what I mean?
I think there's more to the process than that. I'm not fully aware.
I mean, like, they have the full animated TIE fighter in the trailer for Rogue One that never showed up in the movie at all. Right. Like, Jin is there, and this TIE fighter comes up right next to it.
That's called trailer trash.
Like yeah, trailer trash.
Where it gets cut out of the movie.
But, like, they made that for the trailer, probably, you know?
Well, maybe. Because that scene does happen. She's out there.
Right.
On top of a thing in the movie. Anyway, that's a whole other topic we've got on our list of things to talk about.
But at the end of the day, what really made me the most annoyed was the big reveal of Venom. His face looked dumb.
It looked bad.
It did. And like the simple little thing of like, look, if this is your character, this is the moment, this is the reveal, his lips don't touch when he says Venom. He's like, Venom. Venom.
They want you to see the teeth and the tongue.
They want, but like, he can make his lips touch together for half a second to make the letter M.
It was bad.
You know what I mean?
Yep. So swing and a miss on that trailer, Sony. You're bad at everything. Except for making games. Well, making a system that has good games on it.
Good games, yes.
Speaking of which...
Things on the upswing now.
This week, I'm going to talk about... we'll move on to that because that's our big topic. But God of War came out on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what... it's very, very good. That's how I'll say it. And also I'll say it's amazing. It's really fun. It seems like there's a lot of restraint to it, which is interesting for a God of War movie or game. 1, 2, and 3, which are the ones I've played. There's a couple others on the PSP. And
I have thoughts on that. But
there's Ascension, but this one, for example, and it happens pretty early on, and it's in like the trailers and stuff. So the World Serpent shows up. You see him in any other God of War.
You would have fought that
You would have immediately jumped and just started stabbing him in the face and just murdered him.
Cut his head off somehow.
And half of it would have been like QTEs, and it would have been super cinematic. In this, it's you and your son, and there's like a thing that says throw your weapons or release your arms into the center of the lake or whatever, and you're like, okay, and you just throw your axe in the lake because you think it'll come back to you, and it doesn't. You're like, oh no. And then this massive World Serpent shows up and he says things to you.
And you can't understand him.
Yeah, it was great. Like, it's an ancient dead language that not even they know. Like,
right.
And it was a really cool moment because it wasn't what you would expect from that kind of thing. That's been happening throughout the game with like Kratos kind of restraining himself as he's a father and learning. He's got this like, I don't know, probably 8 to 10-year-old son, maybe a little older.
Yeah.
But and one of my questions was, he's had all this time to like, he's had children before who he accidentally like murdered.
Yeah.
And then this son is not a newborn. Like, what has happened? And you can tell through all the dialogue that his mom
mostly raised him.
Yes. And it kind of seems like a combination of she didn't really want him around the son. Like, I think there's a thing where the kid, Atreus, says, yeah, like, mom never wanted me to go hunting with you. Or, you know, like, that kind of thing. Like, the mom, I think her name is Faye.
Yeah.
Is like, she recognizes who Kratos is. Like, we probably shouldn't. And so, like, there's this, even though he's his son, there's, like, this learning curve still, which is really cool.
Yep. Man. And I think that, like, they do a lot of good juxtaposing against the old God of Wars. Like, the whole boar situation. Like, you shoot a boar for the violence of it, for target practice, literally, and that's part of the moment. She's like, for target practice?
Yeah, you meet the Witch of the Woods.
Right, and so what do you have to do? You have to heal her. You have to heal it. Like, there is a segment in which you go and get herbs to heal it.
It is your... Yeah. And Kratos apologizes.
Yeah.
That was a big deal. Like, that doesn't happen. So...
It's super cool the way that they're saying, like, okay, this isn't about the rage of, you know, God of War before. This is about the... In fact, there's a Greek word, I can't remember what the Greek word is, but we translate it as meek. But what it really is its power under control.
Gotcha.
And it's this idea of, like, tame lions and things like that. Yeah, and so when it says that Jesus was meek, he's saying, like, no, he's got power, but it's under control.
Yeah.
Like, this is Kratos becoming that Greek meek. You know, that power under control. Like, he has so much power, but he's taming it. And he's trying to quell it down.
It's so much fun. And the fact that you can go to all the different realms, I found out.
Ooh.
I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I haven't.
I won't tell you what happens, but that's a thing. Like, you're not stuck in Midgard, which is really great. Yeah, it's really, really cool. I've been streaming it whenever I play it. So if you guys are interested, it's kind of random when I get the time to play or to stream it. Usually on the weekends I have time. And I don't know, we'll put up a video. Usually it's like, hey, gonna be on stream, but it's twitch.tv/dezandfoxplay.
That's right.
So yeah, come watch and have fun with us. One more thing I want to talk about on my side.
Go ahead.
I watched a movie this week, as I usually do watch a movie. I watched a movie called The Death of Stalin. It is a
wait. Oh, Stalin's dead?
No, it was a trick title.
Oh, okay.
The glorious leader will never die. No, it's a pretty dark comedy about the circumstances, or about what happens when Stalin dies. What happened when Stalin died. Basically, his like central committee, I think it was called, what they did, what happened. It's a little bit before, and it's played it's very funny. Just kind of like the power grabs that tried to happen, and like the ironic thing is that literally, I don't know if it was literally the night before, it's kind of how it was displayed in the movie. It might have been earlier or before that, but Stalin had death lists. Basically, here are people that need to die because they're, you know, against communism.
Stalin had the Death Note journal.
He had the Death Note, yes, that's what made him so powerful. No, he had these lists, and very soon, at least before he died, he had all of the medium to great doctors put to death.
What?
Super ironic. He did, because like there was, whether or not it was real, a conspiracy that the doctors were trying to take down Stalin. Like they were subverting communism, so we need to take care of them. And then he has a stroke. And so
I regret my choices.
They all meet, like, and also he had a rule, like, when I'm in my residence, he has guards outside the doors, of course, but do not disturb me unless, you know, I ask for it, or, you know, at the very least knock. And it shows, and this is actually what happened. I look up some trivia about it, but there's two guards standing outside, like, the main door, and they hear a thud on the ground. And one of them says, should we investigate? And the other one's like, you want to get killed? And so he just lays there dead on the ground for like 12 hours. And until the morning when somebody, decides to go in, like, makes that risk.
Yeah.
And then it's just really funny. Like, all of them are like, I'm so sad. What do we do now? Like I'm so sad, but let's grab power. Like the combination of needing to look like they're sad that their leader died, but also trying to scheme and how they can take advantage.
Right.
It was a good movie, a really good movie. Would have been better if I knew more about Russian history. But also at a certain point, I think it was the kind of topic that it can't be that funny after a certain amount of, like, when certain events happen, they're really not that funny. Like, it shows one of the guys who was trying to take power was the head of the secret police, and he's a vicious monster, like rapist, like just bad person, and the other ones basically take him down, like hold a trial, mock trial. They can't see me do air quotes. They hold a fake trial, put him to death, but they, like, that whole thing, like, the jokes stop at about 85% of the movie, and it just becomes like this kind of terrible situation where, even though you could say it's good, they're straight up like they put him through this trial, condemn him to death, shoot him, and set him, like, burn his body within the space of 10 minutes. And it's just like all the comedy is taken out of the situation, and it was really jarring, kind of like, I feel the tone switched pretty quick, but it was really good. Like, it was funny if you're into that kind of thing. I'm not into that kind of thing, and I found it funny. I only saw it because I have MoviePass, and it didn't really cost me any money. So,
as far as movies go, my wife and I have been found a new hobby, and it's bad fantasy.
Bad fantasy,
and it's been so
much. Were you
fun.
inspired by the Twitter account?
No, we were inspired because we loved and watched the first Underworld movie with Kate Beckinsale. It was a really good movie. It's a good fantasy. It's fun. It's
middling. It's a fine movie. Yeah. To me, that's in the same realm as Fast and the Furious or
Constantine.
Just fine. Yeah. Not amazing, but fine.
Yeah, I agree. And so we watched the second one, and it's less good. But it's still the same kind of fun action type thing.
Yep.
But eventually you get to a point where you enjoy the action, and you enjoy the action of the characters. And so we watched we've seen the third, but it doesn't star Kate Beckinsale. It doesn't have Celine in it. And so we recently watched
her twin.
Basically.
Fraternal twin.
We watched the fourth and the fifth one recently, and they are the same.
Yep.
But also kind of dumb.
They might as well all be the same movie,
right.
Really.
Also kind of dumb. They make a common fantasy mistake of people have power when they need it and don't have power when it's better for the story.
Yep. Why,
you know what I mean?
Why didn't you just stab him? Oh, don't worry about it.
Like, wait, you just used super speed to murder 15 werewolves, and now all of a sudden you're struggling with one of them.
Yep.
Wait a second.
Their super strength comes and goes.
Things like that. So just things like that. Anyway, but it was fun to watch, and we really enjoyed it. And we're like, let's watch more. So we've watched Underworld Awakening, Underworld Blood Wars, The Veil, which was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. We watched Dawnbreakers. We watched
Dustbreakers.
Not Dustbreakers.
There was a sequel called Dustbreakers.
Oh, is there really?
I think there's something similar.
Ethan Hawke and Willem Dafoe?
I believe there are two. I might be thinking of something else.
But that movie was interesting. A little slow-paced for a movie about vampires. But anyway.
I think it was a little smarter.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Dawnbreakers, Dragonheart War for the Heartfire.
Classic.
Dragonheart War for the Heartfire.
Yeah, that title alone is amazing.
The 2006 special starring Sebastian Stan, The Covenant. Which was also awful.
Yeah.
So bad.
You should watch the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Oh, I have. I saw it in theaters when
Jeremy
it came
Irons.
out. It was real bad as well.
Yep, that's a bad movie.
But here's what I'll say about all of these, because we got to move on to our topic here pretty soon. But here's what I'll say about all of these movies. Typically in a fantasy movie, you expect, especially when you play fantasy video games or see fantasy miniatures, the women all to be busty and the armor to be like
conveniently revealing.
Exactly, things like that. It was much the opposite. in all of these movies,
with Underworld, they don't really. I mean, there's sex scenes and stuff, but Celine wears a full bodysuit.
The women are all well covered,
yeah,
and on the side, but all the men are like shirtless and low riding pants, so you can see like their groin muscles.
You know why that is?
Like that.
You know why that is? In mainstream movies, an Underworld movie, their main audience is boys, like the male audience. So they already know they're coming to watch because it's got cool vampires and stuff. So who are they trying to get? They're not trying to get teenage boys. They're trying to get women. So
yeah. Because literally every single one of these movies that I'm talking about has 0 women with big boobs and whatever else.
Yeah.
No, what it's got is abs galore.
Oh yeah.
And oiled men.
It's like 300.
Yeah.
Yeah, like all the guys,
also men naked women, but mostly.
Well, sure, but constant men wearing basically just like like
loincloth. Yeah, and that's it exclusively.
Right.
So speaking of really attractive men, Ni no Kuni 2. No, speaking of fantasy,
which character are you talking about?
Now, speaking of fantasy and good fantasy on this note, Ni no Kuni 2 came out about 3 weeks ago?
Something like that. 3 to a month. Not super long.
When you're hearing this, probably a little more than a month ago.
Yeah, around there.
And Fox has been playing... You completed it, didn't you?
I have finished the story as of like a couple... Friday, I think.
And I have been watching Fox play it, and I have the pleasure of being able to, like, he'll upload videos, but then schedule them to come out.
Yeah,
but
you can watch them immediately.
Yeah, since I'm an admin of the channel, I just go and I binge watch all of them.
Yep.
And then I scold him and tell him to post the rest of them.
Whereas I've got other videos to upload. And anyway.
But here's the beauty of it all. Here's the truth of it is... Oh, excuse me.
That
snuck up on me. Yeah.
That is the truth of Ni no Kuni 2.
Ni no Kuni 2 is good.
Yeah.
It is good fantasy.
Yeah.
It is a good video game. And most importantly for our topic today, it is a good JRPG.
It is.
So, to kind of begin with defining what a JRPG is, it is a Japanese role-playing game.
Yeah.
And what would you say is the distinction that defines a role-playing game as Japanese as opposed to anything else?
You have your JRPGs. RPG is a very big genre, and typically in video games you have your JRPGs and your WRPGs. Your Japanese and your Western. Western RPGs would be things like Dragon Age,
right,
or Mass Effect.
Yep.
I think what's common between them is, like in a tabletop role-playing game, you have a lot of control over like the stats and the specifics of your character. So, for example, I mean, it's been creeping into a lot of games recently. Right. Things of this nature. But so, like a Call of Duty main character, you have guns. You choose what gun, but you are a specific character with a specific, like, your stats don't really enter into it at all. You don't have to wear armor. You know, all these things, they're all handled for you. In JRPGs, Western RPGs in general, those things are you control them. You get more greater detail. What specifically makes a JRPG to me is generally the tone. Mm-hmm. Tone is a little more dramatic, I would say, a little more like sappy dramatic, like anime, or like His story themes can be similar, but the tone is a little more, sometimes a little more goofy, a little more ridiculous. And Western RPGs are generally a little more taken seriously, so like Mass Effect or
it takes themselves a lot more seriously.
Takes themselves a little bit more seriously. You know, threats are evil bad. I mean, they all have their evil bad guys, but they try to become be more dramatic, I guess. I don't know what to say. What I'm trying to say, but you get it. So that, I think that is the main difference. It's kind of a I know what it is when I see it kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll also say, to kind of distinguish a true role-playing game as opposed to a game with role-playing elements, like you said, Call of Duty.
Sure.
They have some role-playing elements in it.
Most games do nowadays.
Right. Or Far Cry 5 has some custom role-playing
you have
elements.
your stats.
But here's what it is.
Perks.
Is on all of these games, you play the silent protagonist that does not have an actual role in the story.
A lot of times.
And so, most of the time.
Yeah, in non-RPGs.
Yeah, you don't really have a role in the story. Where, I mean, like, you're
the vehicle through which the story happens.
You don't have a voice. You don't have...
Sometimes literally. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't matter.
So, in role-playing games, you are a character.
You are a specific
you're not just
person.
Rook, like you are in Far Cry 5.
Sure.
You are Captain Shepard, and Captain Shepard has a role in what's happening.
And you get to decide what that role is a lot of times, or how those things take place. And you get to put your personal input into what happens.
Right.
Now, in JRPGs, that doesn't happen as often. Decision making isn't really a big deal in a lot of them, but you still get to decide like literally the roles you play. So in like early Final Fantasies, like thief, warrior, all these things get chosen, fighter, whatever. But yeah, that's true. There's a greater emphasis on the actual characters that you're playing. They're also very story driven. For examples of JRPGs: Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Chrono Trigger, like lots and lots of them.
A lot of them, yeah. But what's been happening in recent years, probably about in the last decade, is the JRPG. Its heyday was the 90s.
Easily,
the 90s. I mean,
the SNES,
JRPG, yes, and then into the PlayStation.
Sure.
I mean, JRPGs ruled the world. You had the Final Fantasy for the SNES.
Yep, started.
Then there was the Chrono games that you were talking about,
right?
Secret of Mana, games like
Which
that.
just got remade to okay reviews.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
And then the PlayStation came out, and there were games like Parasite Eve. There were games like Final Fantasy.
Continued on the Final Fantasy.
Vagrant Story, things like that.
Yeah, but in the last 10 years, there's kind of been a waning of the genre as a whole. They don't sell as well, I don't think, anymore.
Right.
Which is probably the main reason why they don't make as many anymore. But they've also just kind of been like, it's basically just the big players that kind of release them now. Like you get a Final Fantasy every couple of years or every couple decades now. Kingdom Hearts is still quote unquote going. Yeah. But even that one, it's like 10 years between the games, Like,
I mean, for major system releases, there's only been 2.
Been very few.
Yeah.
But I think Ni no Kuni 2 is a great game, not only in and of itself, but also for the genre as a whole.
Yes. So before we get into that, let's talk about why JRPGs collapsed a little bit. Why we think, and to me, I would cite first and foremost is the most common element in JRPGs for a long, long time was turn-based combat.
There you go. Yeah.
And I love turn-based combat,
Me too.
In fact, if you were to feed it back to me, I would probably be okay with it, and I would probably be happy with it. But for young gamers coming into it, a lot of the gamers that began playing in the PS2 era or the PlayStation era,
or the 360.
Right, who began with this and had all these fast-paced action games to be like, no, it's time to fight! Da, 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 da! All right, it's your turn.
All right, select now from these several menus which one you want to do.
And I always liked it because it was like a game of chess. Like, there was always this idea of like, okay, they're going to do this move. I know they're going to do that. It's going to hit these 3 guys. I'm going to need to prepare my cure spell. They're weak to this. So this guy who's my caster, I'm going to prepare this thing and boom, blah, 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 blah. And set it all up. And I thought that was really fun. But for a lot of people, that's just not as exciting.
Right, yeah. When you get Halo, I'm not saying Halo's bad. It's just much more fast-paced and much simpler in its presentation of mechanics.
It's point and shoot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Literally.
So we began to try to shift with games like Final Fantasy XII, in which there was
I believe, a really good combination of the two.
Yeah.
I love Final Fantasy XII, but it was kind of a compromise.
Star Ocean had a similar type of compromise.
Never played Star Ocean.
No, yeah, it's a similar type of compromise in between the two.
Yep.
But in truth, it made it as, if not more complicated.
Kingdom Hearts is kind of an anomaly where it was, I don't know, in my recollection, one of the first ARPGs, action RPG, where combat does not slow down the game.
Right.
You're jumping around, attacking everybody. It's crazy. Lots of stuff is happening. They're continuing that in 3. Obviously, it's going to be more ridiculous than ever. But yeah, they tried to kind of walk that line to please the fans of JRPGs and also get new audience members in, as every single genre needs to do. And it just kind of didn't work, is what it seems like.
Yeah, although Kingdom Hearts did it pretty well.
Yeah,
the combat's fun.
They don't release those.
There's only been 2 of them, right?
Right.
All the other ones, they just did not work well at all. So let's talk Ni no Kuni 2. Why do you think that this game in particular is really representing a resurgence of JRPGs?
Well, so this year, I've already coined the term or used the phrase, it's the year of the JRPG, or the year of the resurgence of the JRPG. Because we've got a lot of good stuff. I'm also counting Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which came out in December, but I'm counting it. But we've got that. We've got Ni no Kuni. We've got Kingdom Hearts 3 is supposed to come out this year. Supposed to. We've got Ys 8, which is one that not very many people have heard of. But early reviews, it's coming out here in June. Mm-hmm. I've already pre-ordered. I'm really excited, but early reviews I've got just freaking all about it. It's really great.
Nice.
And then Dragon Quest 11. Now, if you don't know, Dragon Quest in Japan is bigger than Final Fantasy.
I didn't know that.
People like Dragon Quest more than they like. Yeah, it sells and reviews better than Final Fantasy does every time. And I'm super pumped for 11. I've played since 8, but I also played 7 a little bit. But yeah, so that's also coming out this year. There are some big heavy hitters, and what I love, kind of, because I've hated Final Fantasy games for a while now, since 12, is that it's a huge year for JRPGs, and Final Fantasy's not even got one coming out.
Right.
There's a part of me that for no reason it's just that jerks.
Well, I mean, they have been trying too hard for a while.
And that's 15 is a big pile of poop.
Well, okay, you think so, but to general reception, it was a very moderate game.
I guess.
To general reception, it was good.
But Ni no Kuni 2, I think, is a very good thing for the genre, because, A, it's not very complicated, both in its delivery. You do not have to grind playing this game. I was a full, maybe... for the final boss, I was 24 levels below him. He was 74, and I was...
Wow.
I might not have even hit 50 yet. I'm not sure. But I beat him first try.
Nice.
And it was kind of down to the wire. It was actually a great dramatic moment. I had no resurrection items anymore. I had one character left alive. He could barely do anything. But it was amazing. But yeah, I still took him down on my first try. Being 24 levels, and in any other game, doesn't matter what genre, if you're 24 levels below something, you shouldn't even try. Right. You're going to die immediately.
Yes, you are.
So that's what I'm saying. It's not complicated. Mm-hmm. People who pick it up won't and aren't used to needing to grind for experience aren't going to need to, and they won't get frustrated at the idea of having to. Why would I just want to fight monsters over and over again? That kind of thing. It's also not complicated in its systems, in its mechanics. A thing about JRPGs is that there are often lots of different things to do.
Right.
Mechanics in the game. So in this one, they're all very simple. You go hunt this monster. You'll just see it on the map. It's got a purple thing around it. It means it's going to be tougher. You fight it, and then whatever. You build this kingdom, and basically you just upgrade your buildings and get or you find citizens to join your kingdom. Mm-hmm. You find them, you do the quest, or you explore around it. Everything is very simple. There's no complicated mini games. Blitzball was a big thing in Final Fantasy X. Really great mini game, but I think it was complicated to the point where a lot of people just were I don't really want to put time in this.
That's exactly what I didn't. You had to win one game of Blitzball.
One forced game, and it was difficult.
It was really hard.
And that was the only one you had to play, and so I feel like that would give people a bad taste.
And so I did the nope, done.
I've done a playthrough of Final Fantasy X probably 10 times, and I've won it once. I have won that game once, and it's one of the greatest moments of my life. There are to me, this is kind of a detriment because I like those mini games most of the time, depending on the time. But for others, there's none of those really complicated mini games that take some time and effort to get into. And at the same time, all of the mechanics in Ni no Kuni 2 work together. So when you're playing the game, you're constantly finding items, just random items, some wool or a gem or whatever. And what they do is everything else in the game. some quests you'll need to be able to like, oh, this person wants 3 of these. Give them to them. They'll join your kingdom. Oh, to create a new weapon, you need 3 of this ore. Okay, I'll create that weapon. Or to upgrade that weapon, you'll need this. Or armor. Or spells. Or higgledies, which are like these like little party member kind of things.
Yeah.
To make those, you need these items. Like items which you're constantly getting. There's always a feedback loop of, oh, I'm getting more and more. I'm going to be able to do stuff. Just does everything else. Where at the same time, getting certain party member or getting certain citizens for your kingdom will help you upgrade your buildings, which helps you in combat, which helps you be able to fight harder hunt missions, which give you certain items, which gets you better weapons. Like everything works with everything, and it's extremely well done in how they made nothing. What's the word? Extraneous? Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yes,
that
would work.
Nothing that's like, oh yeah, I don't really care about that. There's always a point where you're like, okay, I got to go do some of that now, and because everything works together, and that's very well done. Like nothing is unnecessary. The story is also very simple. There's a lot of good things. I'm going to keep talking about this.
No, go ahead.
The story is very simple. You are Evan. Your father was overthrown and killed, and you escape, and then you decide to build a kingdom and unite the other kingdoms under the single banner of no more war. Very simple. Other games tend to get pretty complicated.
Right.
Final Fantasy specifically. Final Fantasy 15 was so unnecessarily complicated and stupid because of it that I hated it.
It's like so much lore that folded on top of itself.
Yes. Final Fantasy 12 even. I love it, but it's got so much political things, so many political things plus fantasy things, like all these things going on where it's like if you're not paying attention, you're not going to know what's going on and possibly then not care about what's going on and probably stop playing the game.
Well, I mean, even Final Fantasy X, like spoiler alert, you're a dream of a dream of your father's guilt and you don't really exist? Wait,
you teleport to another world, but it's the same world. But you're the dream of... Yeah, it's
so complicated.
10 works better because it's got really good characters that you care about their connections. But yeah, this is not complicated, which is great. If people can easily understand what's going on, then they want to play it more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also
it's a pretty like simple progression, and one thing I really like about the characters in the storyline is it's so filled with hope.
Yes.
And at a time in which especially politics are not filled with hope, to see this like young naive kid going into politics with this naivete, but not thinking like people around him are still trying to say like, dude, this is not going to work. But he's like, no, here's my goal: unite all the kingdoms so there's no more war. That's my goal. Let's make this happen.
Roland shows up for reasons, and he's like, all right, I'll help you out. And like Ni no Kuni 1 was basically animated by Ghibli Studios. Like a very heavily involvement. If you ever watch a Ghibli film like Castle in the Sky or My Neighbor Totoro or Spirited Away, lots of good ones, amazing animation. And it's very obvious if you've seen those. The styles are very similar. This one is not as heavily influenced, but there is like an animator or somebody who did art who was from that studio. So it's but also story-wise, it's very similar. The story is, like you said, full of hope. Yeah. Bad guys don't turn out to be evil monsters. They turn out to have some legitimate reason for why they're acting the way they do. And more often than not, the conclusion to either the main story or like little stories in it are not kill the bad guy, we win. They are fight this monster that's been unleashed, that's just a rampaging monster, and then understand what the bad guy was doing and hope possibly just you become friends. Like legitimately become allies.
And then we all live happily ever after.
Right, and it's great. It's a little, I don't know, you could say it's unnecessary or not unnecessary, but like unrealistic.
It's naive.
Or for children is what a lot of people would say. Like, oh, it's just a cartoon game for babies. I love it because it just like doesn't make the game worse. It makes the game more fun because I like the idea of grace and forgiveness in my stories more than I like shoot him or stab him until he's dead.
Well, and you know what? If you want a grimdark, realistic game they're being pumped out by the dozen.
They're out there. Go play Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, go play God of War that's out right now.
Even God of War has gotten a little more positive with like the whole fatherhood thing. It's not just about violence. But yes.
It's still very violent.
It's still very dark and you're murdering things.
Yeah, and then Far Cry 5, creatures. Yeah. All kinds of things like that. But how about a game that just takes this naive hope and says it can be real?
Right.
Yes, we can do this. We can be naive and hopeful, and it can happen.
Right.
I love it.
And I think it's a good spot. Like this, I think whether or not it's naive and hopeful or whatever, but the story is so interesting to me because it's more than just kill the bad guy. That I think it's like what shows what a JRPG can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has this ability to be something different than what most games else are, And so those are the major reasons why I think Ni no Kuni 2 is a sign of hope for the genre.
So you've given kind of like this 30,000 foot view of it. I'm going to get a little more granular on why I really think this is a positive thing for the genre. And I'm going to talk about the combat. And a part of the reason that I loved JRPG combat so much, like I said before, is it was such a strategy-based, almost like a chess game. And you had to get in there and like I loved saying, okay, I need cure, I need wind damage, I need fire, things like that. Ni no Kuni takes that. You can still do that.
Sure.
But it's not nearly as important, or it's not deadly necessary.
No.
So if you want to make things a little bit easier on yourself, sure, you have these things called Higgledies. And the Higgledies all have elemental
Classic
powers.
Ghibli.
Yeah. And they're adorable little things.
Just make
they're
little
so cute. Yeah, they do.
You're in the end of the world and you have these little blob monsters going
and
it's amazing.
I love it. And these things, they all have like an elemental power, and depending on what you're doing, you can swap them out, and you can get different elements of power. And at that point, you don't have to worry about like, okay, this guy's my caster, I need to make sure that he has these spells equipped, and I make blah, 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 like stuff like that. It can be like, you know what, I'm going to try and just tough this through, and sometimes you will.
I literally did that every time.
Yeah, you can do it no problem.
Yeah, that can be a positive to us who enjoy JRPGs. They're probably my favorite genre. It was kind of a detriment. I literally never had to worry about anything. I literally just whatever boosted my strength and defense. It's like I never in the game made any like weapon change for any reason other than it's got a higher attack power. I had the same 3 party members the entire game. Never cared about anybody else. I had the same 4 Higgledies the entire game. Never cared about changing them out, and it really didn't make a difference. Would I have been able to fight, beat the last boss easier if I had paid attention? Absolutely. But it was never necessary.
And that's what I mean, and I like that. So, first of all, you're an experienced gamer, and you are competent and pretty good at video games in general.
Most of the time.
There'll be some out there that struggle with that, and they won't have as easy of a time with you. And you know what? If they want to swap them out and make things a little bit easier on themselves, they can. Or maybe it's somebody like me who just loves the strategy of it, and I want to go in.
Yeah.
And every single combat, think to myself, oh, I'm fighting a fire-based monster this time. I'm going to get my ice on.
Sure.
And things like that, just because I love it, and it's fun, and it's great. And you can do this with the game, but it's not deadly necessary. In old classic JRPGs, if you were to go fight a robot and you didn't equip your lightning attacks, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Because this thing's probably immune to everything else, but takes triple damage from lightning.
Yeah, or Final Fantasy X, specifically, Riku. You could fight a robot, whatever, the Machina that would show up, you could fight them, and they might be tough or whatever. But if you just use steel with Riku, you would literally just steal an item from it, and it would fall apart and die immediately. And it was just kind of a bit of strategy.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
And so, exactly this thing where there's this whole ability to be able to strategize on a granular level. It's the exact same thing where you have these little war minigame type thing where you have squadrons.
Yeah, those are more difficult than the actual combat.
There are these squadrons that you bring out, but it's like a glorified rock, paper, scissors.
A little bit.
Where one type of squadron overcomes another type, but that type overcomes a third type, but that third type overcomes the first type.
Sure.
And you can spin and angle them, but there are also times like, oh, I want the higher ground, or I'm going to get behind this this cover or whatever else.
Yeah, or
and
you
again,
have other abilities or monsters show up. Yeah.
Can you equip items or, generals or soldiers just to make you guys strong enough to just run in and kill everybody?
You can. I literally never did.
Right. And
I
you
never
but you don't.
I think I grinded on that a little bit, but never on regular combat. That's what you're saying right now is why I'm terming Ni no Kuni 2 to be a gateway JRPG.
Yes.
It's not like the epitome of the genre, but it is a good place to start if you've always been interested in playing Final Fantasy VI. Or, something that's a little more complicated, or you've tried it before and you're like, I don't really like it, but I like the idea, but this is too much. Like, it's like watching, I don't know, some kind of horror movie when you're young. That's like kind of PG-13-ish maybe. Like,
right.
It's not, it's not The Exorcist, but it's something that's like, okay, I could get into that. Like, it will get, that's why I think it's great for the genre.
Yes.
It doesn't advance the genre. It actually basically does things that have always been done. It does them well, but it is a good starting place for, and that's why I think, hopefully in the future, I'm not sure how well Ni no Kuni 2 sold. I think that's the problem, is that because they haven't been as popular for the last decade-ish, nobody wants to just buy it, because they're just like, oh, it's another JRPG, no thank you. It's not Final Fantasy, so no thank you. That's the kind of the catch-22. It doesn't really matter if you're great or bad, because you just have this assumption about you. So it takes somebody like me who's going to probably buy it either way. But yeah, it is a great game. So if you're listening and care about or have been interested in playing games like Final Fantasy or whatever, but never really got into them, or you've got friends that like them, but you never really try them out, Ni no Kuni 2 is a really good place to start.
Yeah.
I would recommend getting it. If you do play JRPGs, get it. It's really great. It's a really fun game. I'm hoping for more in the next one, more like a bigger, longer story, hopefully a little more like nuance to what's going on, a little more. I want some more tropes of the genre. I want more grinding, those things. But
I just want chocobos. Game. That's all I want. And I want to race them.
Go play Final Fantasy 15.
No, I want Final Fantasy 7 chocobo racing in the casino.
Well,
that's all I want.
They're remaking it to make it look like Final Fantasy 15. So
oh, I'm so excited for the remake.
It's going to have the same combat as 15. And the remake, or the combat was okay.
I don't care about that. I just want the story again. But I want them to make
just play Final Fantasy 7
on my original PlayStation?
Yes!
I have to.
If you just want the same story, why do you need it for the PS4?
Because I don't want them in polygon bodies. I don't want them to look like Porygon.
They're all in polygon bodies. But
okay, I don't want them to look like Porygon.
I want more than 7 polygons.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, of course. I'm definitely gonna get it. But
Ni no Kuni 2 is, and you said it, it's the gateway JRPG, and that's what a JRPG needs right now.
Yes.
What the genre needs right now is a gateway resurgence to start bringing people back in.
And
is it this really intricate, granular game? No, of course not.
Right.
Is it challenging and gonna, bring you back for the challenge over? No,
it's not. It's not gonna do those things.
It's for the people who originally got out of it because they were 10 years old and they didn't like the turn-based combat. Now the people who are 10 years old and are going to see this, they're going to be like, I can do this.
Yeah.
This is something that I can do. And it's bringing back in. Or if you're 30 years old, you can play it and just have fun with it.
Right.
Have a really good time with it.
And if you like it, if you're like, oh, maybe I should try it, and you like it, there are other good games coming out. Go play Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's more anime-ish. That was my main problem with it. It's just so cheesy a lot of times and goofy. But it was really fun, and it's definitely more complicated. There's a lot more to it. There's more in-depth combat. You have to grind a lot of times.
Yep.
Things like that. But there's going to be more. What's it called? 11. Dragon Quest 11 when it comes out. It's got basically where it's come out. It's just got Universal.
Is this one Akira Toriyama again? Is he doing the artwork?
He's the artwork,
again?
yeah.
So if you like the artwork of Dragon Ball Z, the same guy does.
All the characters look like Goku.
Yeah, the same art and director that does Dragon Ball Z also does the Dragon Quest games.
Right. So. Yeah. So if you like it, there will be more. So it's a good time to get into the genre.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. Let us know what you think about JRPGs. What was your favorite all-time JRPG? What kind of defines the genre for you? You can tell Fox and I gave our input on what we think defines the genre, but other than it's a role-playing game that comes from Japan, it's hard to put like a heavy finger on that. So let us know how you define a JRPG, and let us know what you think about Ni no Kuni 2 and the JRPGs that are coming out the rest of this year. Thanks again for listening, guys, and remember, save games, save lives.
Bye.